how you're not taking up for me? Tell him to hush. I don't want to fight with nobody. I just want to be
No,
here
I'm not
for
going
y'all.
to sit here and act as if this is not something that has been going on and on.
Finally, someone is standing up to Angela. And you better believe she doesn't like it one bit. But as it turns out, it's not just Angela embroiled in drama this episode.
I don't really think that's fair.
So get on a flight and go home. Oh. You guys think that you are better than us? Excuse me? Excuse you?
Now, before we get to all of the Loren, Alexei and the rest of the cast drama, let's just rewind to the start of this episode. So, the drinks have been poured liberally, and the cast are definitely acting a bit looser, a bit less inhibited. I mean, just take a half-naked Ed and Liz in the hot tub, for example.
I don't like that.
He thinks I think he's...
Not that there's anything wrong with buff ass.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just fitness. It's
Okay,
not body.
he's weird about it. Anyway,
to me makes me, I feel
I'm
like...
saying my...
What on earth was that? Does someone need to remind Liz that she has a boyfriend, a new boyfriend, Jason? I'm not too sure he'd be over the moon with all of the giggling going on in the hot tub, with the fact that Liz is basically lovingly hand-feeding her ex-fiancé his drink. It's a bit gross. I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't like it. Now, of course, the night continues with the drunken Sophie and Rob drama, which if you missed, I've got a whole separate dedicated video just for that, which I'll link in the description below. But when we join Ed the following day at the studio, he approaches Jasmine, who's been very vocal about her dislike of him.
I do believe he's a bad person. He's ugly in and out.
And proceeds to get all emotional.
The fact that you're attracted to Gino, that gives me hope in love.
Yes.
Because like with Liz, I got so complete with her and...
Honestly, why does he keep doing that? He keeps stopping mid-sentence and pretending to have an emotional breakdown. Now, Ed manages to squeeze out some crocodile tears as he's talking to Jasmine, explaining to her that it's been so difficult for him to watch Liz move on. It's all just so fake, so Ed. And the problem is, he's picked the wrong woman for this shit. You see, Jasmine immediately calls him out on his BS.
Now you know that there is a lot of room for improvement. You have a big mouth sometimes.
Can you be more honest?
Yeah, you're an ass, especially when it comes to women.
Jasmine encourages Ed just to drop this act. Start being more authentic, she tells him. Let people see the funny, the loving side of you that we've seen in very, very small glimpses over the last few days. But, just in case Ed gets the wrong end of the stick, she also makes sure to reiterate very clearly that she doesn't much like him.
I didn't like you, and now I don't like you either, but I don't dislike you. And I think that that is progress, okay?
Okay.
Look, the truth is, Ed is a lot of things, but one thing we can definitely say about him is he's usually very thick-skinned when it comes to people not liking him. He's probably had a lot of practice with this sort of brutal honesty. Now, whether or not he takes any of this on board, well, that's a completely different matter. But as the tell-all kicks off, we start with Loren and Alex and the whole mummy makeover that she got this season.
These are like happy tears because I've wanted this for so long. I'm so proud of myself for doing it.
Now, this whole procedure, the invasive cosmetic surgery that literally put her life at risk just to look good, is something that Rob reminds her could have left her husband Alexei as a single dad of 3. And the totally wild thing about that is that Loren then admits she didn't even think of that.
Is it worth it?
It was kind of selfish of me because I didn't even think of that, to be honest.
I'm sorry, that's nuts. That's crazy not to have factored in that risk. Now, the funny thing is, pretty much every man on that stage is having a tough time digesting that risk. But the women are all a lot more sympathetic.
When you do become a mom, it really is true that you do lose yourself. Kobe goes to work. I'm with them all day long. You lose yourself. You forget oh, okay, I need to take 10 minutes for myself.
Emily congratulates Loren for doing something for herself, but Loren admits her body still isn't as she'd like. She still wants a little va-va-voom, in her words. And this just adds fuel to the fire that the whole cosmetic surgery thing is a very slippery road. It becomes very easy for one procedure to lead to another. Why? Because you're never 100% happy with yourself. And Jasmine is literally the perfect example of this.
I'm not happy with my waist. I want to make it tinier. I discovered that there is a surgery in which they can break your ribs.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand. It's going way, way too far. Jasmine breaking her ribs in order to get a smaller waist, when frankly she's slim enough as it is already, is bad. It's very extreme. It's a bad case of body dysmorphia. Now, that whole issue is something that Jasmine has shared before, but Loren also admits that it's something she struggles with too. But as the tell-all continues, it starts to become more and more obvious that all of the cast are going very easy on Alex and Loren. They're definitely not putting them under the same scrutiny as every other couple has had. It's all very tame. I mean, this is about the worst of it. It's all very self-indulgent.
I also felt an immense amount of guilt. Not just mom guilt, but wife guilt and just guilt overall.
I mean, Loren talks about the mum guilt she feels, a very real thing, right? But she paints herself out to be a saint. And at the same time, Alex doesn't really acknowledge any of his own faults. Now, while the rest of the cast stay silent, it's Loren's mum, her very vocal mum, who's never been afraid to upset the apple cart. She's the only one who calls out what she's seen both on the show and behind the scenes. And it turns out that Alexei isn't quite as chilled out as he'd have us all believe.
Let me tell you something. Every now and then, I see that alpha male rear its head, and that's when I want to slap him upside his head.
Now, this is it. This is about as much critique as the pair get. Now, the last thing they talk about, the final thing before they all go off stage, is Loren admits, even after this extensive, invasive, life-threatening cosmetic procedure she's just had, deep down, she reveals, she'd still like more kids. She'd be okay to put her body through pregnancy again, if it meant having a fourth child. But that is too much for Alexei. He wants no part of it. 3 is more than enough for me, he says.
I don't. Like,
Isn't that
after
crazy?
going through those few months, I don't.
Alex, you don't want any more kids. 3
Right
is it
now-
for you.
Right now, for sure not.
And just like that, their segment is over. Literally, Alex and Loren have got through their entire segment scot-free. And after a short break from filming, you'll never guess who finally returns.
Michael can do what the hell he wants to do. Go to the mansion, go somebody if you want to. I don't give a
I didn't want to hang out with the other couples because I'm not here for them.
Now, Michael tells us that he didn't want to return to the mansion to stay with the rest of the cast last night because he says he wanted to focus on fixing what was broken between himself and his wife. Now, I'd suggest that probably needs an exorcism rather than a hotel stay, and it becomes very apparent that their issues weren't solved overnight. His plan backfired because it's clear Angela is just as broken today as she was yesterday. Sorry, but this woman can't be fixed.
I'm not a crier, but I'm to the point where I'm broken. You know what I'm saying? I'm really here for you, Sean, number one, and the ladies.
What a total suck-up. Angela claims that the only reason she's come back is for Sean and to give the rest of the female castmates support. Support they've never asked for and don't need, least of all from her. Let's not forget, none of the ladies like her. They all ran away from her. Yeah, no one's buying her excuse. Basically, all of the girls just awkwardly murmur their thanks.
This whole 3 days, I haven't gave them none support.
We appreciate that.
But it's left to Kobe of all people, nice guy Kobe, to finally address the elephant in the room. Kobe's fed up of everyone pandering to Angela. His fed up of no one holding her disgusting behaviour to account.
Angela, you've always disrespected your husband in public, every single place.
Okay.
To the level that even a fly cannot respect him.
Well,
and
that's
it's
your
just
opinion.
Now, Angela snaps back at Kobe by saying she's not there to talk about her relationship. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that literally the whole point of the tell-all? But she again claims she's only there to support everyone, which is just ridiculous. And as ever, as always, Angela then turns this on Michael. She begins howling at her husband as if this is somehow his fault.
See how you're not taking up for me? Tell him to hush. I don't want to fight with nobody. I just want to be
No,
here
I'm
for
not
you.
gonna sit here and act as if this is not something that has been going on and on.
Poor Michael just desperately pleads with Kobe to drop it. Like, the guy's undoubtedly been fighting with his wife all night. He just doesn't have the energy for any more. He's the one that has to go home with this monster after all. Now, Sean digs a little deeper, right? She asks Angela, given that the PI you hired found absolutely nothing on Michael, does this mean you now trust your husband? Has it cleared his name in your eyes?
Listen, he only had 2 weeks to investigate. I don't know his social medias that he had behind my back.
I told you I don't have any social media.
I know.
There's nothing in there.
Nothing will ever satisfy this woman, and it's no surprise, as we all know, after this filming ended, Michael did eventually get his arse out of there. But on that topic, on the topic of living in America, as the studio filming finishes up and the cast are eating their dinner, the topic of green cards pops up. And it's Jasmine, who has very strong feelings on this matter, who wants to share her experience.
A lot of Americans use it to control their partners, to manipulate, and it's okay,
That's
so
true.
Jasmine's definitely talking about Gino there. Like, she's been very open about how she thinks his delay in filing her green card is because he's scared that once she's free, once she's got that independence, she'll be off. But Gino defends himself. He uses his excuse, an excuse we've heard before, that the reason for the delay in filling out her paperwork is because it was summertime in Michigan. He didn't want to be stuck indoors filling out her paperwork, which is literally the worst excuse I've ever heard.
Summertime only work time in Michigan.
summer.
No, not summer. I know what I'm talking
you are
about.
talking about summer when you are putting my life on hold.
Gino wants to lounge around in the sun, while at the same time, Jasmine can't go back to Panama to visit her sick mum or her kids, and she can't get a job and become financially independent. She's totally reliant on Gino, just the way he likes it. Now, it's at this point that the topic of conversation again changes, and everyone begins discussing Loren and Alexei. They all seem to regret the fact that they let them off so easy.
Don't you feel like Loren and Alexei didn't get from literally anyone?
Like, I did want to put it out there, but I mean, everybody was kind of more just trying to be supportive, so I'm like,
Yeah.
Now, out of everyone, and it seems like most of the people there aren't happy, but out of everyone, it's Thais who seems to have the most pent-up frustration towards Loren. That, she reveals, stems from the fact that on the Pillow Talk episodes, Loren always seems to badmouth her, she says. And Thais goes on to say that she thinks Loren is incredibly fake. So imagine their surprise where literally the next minute, Loren and Alexei enter the room to say their goodbyes. Remember, the rest of the cast are all going back to the mansion, but Loren and Alexei have decided to leave filming early. And it's safe to say that their decision to leave early doesn't go down too well.
I wish you the best of luck. That was such a half-assed hug, but okay. Please let us know another half-assed hug. That's fine. It was so nice meeting you. I love you so much.
Loren, in a very sarcastic, kind of passive-aggressive manner, thanks the girls for their half-assed hugs. Sophie calls her out for that. Having endured a grilling herself, Sophie tells Loren everyone else has had to go back to face the music. We've all had to deal with the aftermath of our studio segment back at home. So why do you guys get to skip that? Why do you feel you get a hall pass out of it?
I don't really think that's fair.
So get on a flight and go home. Oh. You guys think that you are better than us? Excuse me? Excuse you.
Loren explains that she doesn't think that she's better than the rest of them, she just wants to go home to her kids. But Sophie calls BS. She tells Loren that they're not the only ones with kids. There's multiple cast members that also have kids. If they've all managed to stay, if they've all managed sitters for the duration, why can't you? And that scrutiny of her behaviour seems to really annoy Loren, because it's at this point she gets really arsey. She becomes full-on passive-aggressive.
Would you like us to sit and you can say whatever you would like right now? Because I've got 5 minutes.
Yikes, that's a bit feisty, isn't it? Be very careful what you ask for, Loren. I mean, with everyone else's tell-all now finished, with a lot of rage and frustration in the air, she might need to brace herself for everything coming at her.